I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching India Today Global. Now, the big story, why is the internet buzzing when it comes to Vance and Kirk? First Jeffrey Epstein and now Erika Kirk. After a close moment captured between US Vice President J.D. Vance and Charlie Kirk's widow Erika Kirk at an event of Turning Point USA, internet has indeed been buzzing with rumors and speculations about a possible spark between the two. Online streamers have come out with their own version of these images and MAGA is supporting that rumor. Take a look at this report by Mahashweta Lala.
As US President Donald Trump faces criticism for his association with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, his deputy J.D. Vance is not behind. In a recent Turning Point event at the University of Mississippi, Vance and Charlie Kirk's widow, Erika Kirk, shared an emotional hug on stage. Images of J.D. Vance in a close embrace with Erika Kirk went immediately viral. While J.D. Vance placed his hands on her waist, Erika held the back of his head. Many critics called the movement inappropriate, while some others called it simply a human emotion. Erika, who now succeeds her husband Charlie Kirk as the CEO of Turning Point USA in her first address since her husband's death, introduced Vance as someone who shares some similarities with her late husband. The speech instantly raised eyebrows.
No one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in J.D. and Vice President J.D. Vance. I do.
American political commentator and online streamer Sneeko, in a post on X, said Erika Kirk needed to grieve her husband a little more.
Erika, man, grieve your husband a little bit more. This is sad to see. And then she said, no man could ever compare to my husband except J.D. Vance.
Host of podcast show Secular Talk posted a meme of Erika Kirk crying, calling her a fake grieving widow grifter with smeared mascara and a bag of cash. Many across platform criticized the host of the podcast show for being inhuman. He shared the meme using a popular Spirit Halloween costume format. Meanwhile, the viral movement has been linked to differences between Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance. The Vice President has been questioned about his interfaith marriage to Usha Vance, who practices Hinduism. Critics have questioned as to why Usha Vance is not converted to Christianity while her children and husband are Christians. This is also seen as one of the reasons for Vance at Turning Point USA, a movement deep-rooted in faith, freedom and love of country. But as speculation of a deep bonding between the US Vice President and Charlie Kirk's widow grows, Vance has clarified his position on his wish for his wife to convert. In a tweet, the Vice President wrote, and I quote, "She is not a Christian and has no plans to convert. I hope she may one day see things as I do. Regardless, I'll continue to love and support her," unquote. Meanwhile, Erika, in a recent interview which is yet to be aired, spoke about the upcoming murder trial of her husband. She criticized efforts by the defense to ban cameras from the courtroom, calling it a betrayal of public trust.
There were cameras all over my husband when he was murdered. There have been cameras all over my friends and family mourning. Why not be transparent? There's nothing to hide. I know there's not, because I've seen what the case is built on.
On September 10, 2025, Charlie Kirk was assassinated while addressing an audience on the campus of Utah Valley University in Utah. Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, less than 12 hours before the winner is declared for the New York City mayoral race, billionaires are now throwing their weight behind contenders. After Mamdani received a call from former President Barack Obama and Cuomo received unexpected backing from President Trump, Tesla CEO Elon Musk has called the New Yorkers to go out and vote for Mamdani's opponent and former Democrat Governor Andrew Cuomo. Here's a report.
A day after US President Donald Trump endorsed former Democrat governor and now independent candidate Andrew Cuomo for New York's mayoral race, Tesla CEO Elon Musk too has thrown his weight behind Cuomo. In a post on X, Musk told New Yorkers to remember to vote Tuesday, warning that a vote for Curtis is really a vote for Mamdani, or whatever his name is. Musk ended his post with a clear message: vote Cuomo. The endorsement places Musk among a group of prominent billionaires, including Mike Bloomberg, Airbnb co-founder Joe Gebbia, and hedge fund manager Bill Ackman, who have rallied against Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani. According to a new poll by Atlas Intel, Zohran Mamdani has 43.9% of support. Cuomo, on the other hand, comes second with 39.4%. Silva, a GOP nominee, is in the third place at 15.5%. During an interview, Trump contradicted the interviewer when she called Mamdani a socialist. He said, Mamdani is a communist and not a socialist. He further added that if Trump were to choose between a former bad Democrat and a communist, he will pick a bad Democrat.
If somebody's going to be a communist mayor of New York, it's a fluke if he gets in. There are a lot of failed people that he's running against. I mean, you have inferior candidates or something, because it's impossible to think that New York City can have a communist mayor. He's a communist. He's not a socialist, by the way. There's a big difference. He's a communist. He's down and dirty. He's a communist. But I wouldn't be generous to a communist, a guy that's going to take the money and throw it out the window, because you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. And we're not going to let somebody get into office and squander the taxpayer money from this country. We're not going to let it happen.
But Zohran Mamdani was not far behind.
President Trump also encouraged every New Yorker to vote for Andrew Cuomo. There are many things that he will say and that he will do that will not actually bear out in the results within our own city. I will treat his threats as they deserve to be treated, which are the words of a president and not necessarily the law of the land.
Mamdani's popularity in polls have surged as his campaign focused on housing affordability, free public transport, and childcare. But Mamdani's support base has not been restricted to the youngsters only. He also reportedly got a call from former President Barack Obama. Obama praised Mamdani's campaign against his rivals. 34-year-old Mamdani's social media posts and his campaign style has attracted large followers. In a recent post, Mamdani spoke in Arabic to the NYC residents with Middle East background.
مرحبا، أنا اسمي زهران ممداني وعم رشح حالي ليكون العمدة الجديد في مدينة نيويورك. بعرف شو عم تفكروا، شكلي كأني صهركم من الشام، بس العربي تبعي بده شوية شغل. مع هيك أنا حابب اليوم أطلب دعمكم يوم 4 نوفمبر.
Mamdani had won the primaries. If he wins the NYC Mayoral election, Mamdani will become the first Muslim mayor of NYC. Uganda-born Mamdani's father, Professor Mahmood Mamdani, is a respected political thinker. His mother, Meera Nair, is a renowned Indian-American filmmaker. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
And Rohit Sharma, my colleague, joins me from Washington in the United States of America. Rohit, thank you so much for joining me. It's noon in New York. The voting began at around 6 a.m., 9 more hours to go. The expectation is that Mamdani is still surging ahead when it comes to the race.
He is, in fact, this morning at Times Square, Polly Market was running ads on the billboard saying he has a 94% chance of winning this race. All the polls have indicated that he is possibly going to be the first ever Muslim/immigrant/Indian and South Asian, as some people like to call it, mayor of New York City. And I think, what we've seen, the kind of statements we've seen from Republicans, from President Trump himself, I think him being the mayor of New York is going to put Washington, D.C. at odds with New York City.
Well, that's right. But also the fact that there are many issues at play over here. He's taken a very, very firm stance and policy position when it comes to various issues. How will that play out for a mayor of New York? New York City hosts all the countries of the world, which includes India, which includes Israel. So how is that really going to play out for the new mayor, should he be declared one?
Well, look, I think he has a tough ask. He's obviously captured the imagination of New Yorkers. When he started his campaign, 10th November 2024, 5 days after the Democrats had lost the election, he was standing alone on an intersection. There was nobody who knew him, and he was holding a placard that said his name. From that to this, he's been able to do that. He's successfully, taken on Cuomo in the primaries. It forced Cuomo to run as an independent. He's forced Eric Adams out. So it's going to be a very challenging task. We've also seen religion play a role, be it, Hindus for Mamdani and, Muslims against Mamdani and Hindus for Cuomo. There's a lot going on, even Jewish people that have a lot to say. So I think it's going to be a very interesting challenge. I think after tonight, I think the campaign stops. And then the promises he's made, especially on the platform of being a socialist, I think that would be put to test. And also important questions for a lot of Democrats to answer. Would they want to, stick around with the socialist policies, or how would they distance themselves from the platform of Zohran Mamdani? So interesting times ahead, Geeta.
Right, absolutely. You keep sending us the dispatches from the United States of America. We'll keep our viewers updated on what's happening on the ground from 6 a.m. tomorrow onwards. Watch India Today Global for all the live updates. Thank you so much, Rohit, for joining us. Now, the U.S. government has shut down or enters its 35th day. It could be 36th, which would make a new record, because this is matching a record set during President Donald Trump's first term for the longest in history. The shutdown has resulted in food assistance for the poor being halted for the first time. Federal workers from airports to law enforcement and the military are going unpaid. Many families are now without the approximately $180 per month on average of food stamps. The Trump administration said it would partially fund November food benefits, but warned that it could take weeks or months for the aid to be distributed. The Senate has voted more than a dozen times against a stopgap funding measure passed by the House of Representatives, and no lawmakers have changed their position yet. Trump's Republicans hold a 53-47 majority in the Senate, but need votes from at least 7 Democrats to meet the chamber's 60-vote threshold for most legislation. Democrats, however, are withholding their votes to extract an extension of some health care insurance subsidies. During the shutdown, Trump has focused on foreign policy from Gaza to Russia to Asia. But recently, he began calling for Republicans to abolish the Senate's 60-vote filibuster threshold. The 15th shutdown since 1981 stands out not just for its length. It has inverted the normal partisan dynamic in which shutdowns have often been provoked by Republicans. Now, Islamabad calls it a game changer, but Beijing calls the shots. As Pakistan unveils its Chinese-built Hangar-class submarines, this billion-dollar deal raises a bigger question. Who's really commanding Pakistan's deep waters? Take a look at this report by Jyoti.
They call it a game changer. Islamabad says the Chinese-built Hangar-class submarine will restore balance in the Indian Ocean. But let's be honest, this is less about military balance and more about Beijing tightening its grip on Pakistan's defense system. Under a $5 billion deal with China, Pakistan's getting 8 Hangar-class subs by 2028. 4 made in China, 4 assembled in Karachi. Beijing makes the hardware, Pakistan just screws on the nameplate. Even the Pakistan Navy Chief Admiral Naveed Ashraf told China's Global Times that the project is progressing smoothly. Smoothly for China's influence, that is. These submarines are based on China's Type 039A Yuan-class diesel-electric air-independent propulsions, stealthy on paper. They can stay underwater for almost 20 days. Each can launch both torpedoes and Babur 3 cruise missiles up to 450 kilometers away. And guess what name they picked? Hangar, the same submarine that sank INS Kukri back in 1971. A dose of nostalgia to hide a dose of dependency. Now, Pakistan claims this will help it patrol deeper into the Arabian Sea. Sounds impressive until you see the math. India's Navy operates nearly 300 ships, 2 aircraft carriers and 18 submarines. Pakistan, barely 120 vessels and 8 subs, including those that haven't even arrived yet. The Hangar-class might look sleek, but capability isn't built overnight. With so much Chinese software, maintenance and spare parts, each sub is basically a floating reminder of Beijing's control. It's meant to project China's presence in the Indian Ocean as much as Pakistan's. And China is already setting the stage, from Gwadar port under CPEC to surveillance posts across the Bay of Bengal, all under the polite label of economic cooperation. But everyone sees what this really is, a strategic encirclement. So should India be worried? Concerned? Yes. Surprised? No. These subs could help Pakistan shadow Indian movements or relay intel to the PLA Navy. They might even host Chinese underwater drones or AI-driven spying systems. But here's the catch. India already has an answer for that. P-8I Poseidon aircraft patrol our sea lanes 24/7, tracking submarine trails long before they surface. Maritime satellites and underwater sensors knit a real-time surveillance web. Even before a Hangar leaves Karachi, India's systems can mark, monitor, and if needed, neutralize. And while Pakistan is importing naval muscle, India is building its own. Kalvari-class Scorpene subs are faster, more agile, and are soon to get indigenous AIP upgrades. Meanwhile, INS Vishal, India's next aircraft carrier, will extend India's reach across both ends of the Indian Ocean. The irony: Pakistan says this is self-reliance. But when half your fleet depends on another country's toolkit, it's more like rented deterrence. For China, this is just another foothold under the Belt and Road umbrella, a strategic anchor in the Arabian Sea. For India, it's a reminder to stay alert but not alarmed. Because the Hangar-class might dive deep, but it can't close the depth of India's maritime dominance. With Jyoti Shukla, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
That's all in this edition of India Today Global. But before I go, today on Statecraft, we discuss the challenges that Delhi faces due to air pollution. But the bigger question is, why has Delhi failed to fight this menace while China did it in a span of a decade starting 2013? Delhi gasps while Beijing enjoys blue skies. Why? A grey ghost haunts Delhi, a choking, invisible killer that seeps into lungs, blinds skylines, and smothers a city that never sleeps. Every breath feels heavier, every morning looks dimmer. The capital of India, once proud and powerful, now stands powerless against a haze of its own making. Schools shut, flights delayed, lives shortened, scores of deaths every year and counting. It's not fog, it's a failure of policy, planning, and political will. While Delhi gasps, Beijing, on the other hand, once the world's pollution capital, breathes clean. 10 years ago, China fought its apocalypse and won. Delhi, meanwhile, is still fighting the same war with less courage and lesser clarity. Should Delhi take a page out of China's book? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta, Mohan. This isn't a new story. Delhi has been living this nightmare for decades. The city drowns in smog every winter. Stubble burning, vehicular exhaust, industrial dust, a deadly cocktail that kills silently. Between 2009 and 2019, 3.8 million Indians lost their lives to air pollution, according to reports. But what's striking is this. In the early 2010s, both Delhi and Beijing faced the same suffocating crisis. Particulate matter with a diameter of less than 2.5 micrometers or PM squared 5 levels touched 500 micrograms, 50 times the WHO limit. A decade later, Beijing cut it by 2/3. Delhi, barely a dent. Why did one city find redemption and the other stagnation? To understand Delhi's failure, we must first understand China's revolution. 2013, Beijing was suffocating. Visibility dropped to meters. Hospitals overflowed with patients gasping for air. Schools shut, flights grounded. The world mocked apocalypse China, a modern empire wrapped in grey. But for Beijing, humiliation became motivation. Outrage turned into action. The Communist Party declared what Premier Li Keqiang called a war against pollution. Not a campaign, not a slogan, a war. It wasn't optional. It wasn't cosmetic. It was command and control at $1 trillion scale. Beijing shut down 3,000 coal boilers. Coal use was slashed by 30%, capped at 15 million tons by 2017. Factories that refused to comply were sealed, relocated, or dismantled. Steel and cement plants were forced to cut emissions or close. Industrial giants bowed to environmental edicts. The message was clear: clean up or shut down. And when Beijing cut coal, it didn't just turn off the lights, it turned on the sun. 4 gigawatts of solar and wind capacity were added. Natural gas replaced soot. Clean energy filled the grid. Pollution fell, but the city didn't stop growing. 2 cities began together. One transformed, the other tinkered. So what should Delhi learn? First, coordination. Pollution doesn't respect boundaries. Delhi must form cross-state coalitions like China did. The NCR and its surrounding states acting as one ecosystem. Second, enforcement. Empower the National Green Tribunal to act swiftly. Impose fines that hurt. Shut down violators, not just warn them. Third, technology and renewables. Enforce emission standards strictly. Electrify public transport faster. Subsidize clean energy transitions. Beijing cut coal. Delhi can cut dependency on diesel and dust. Fourth, transparency. Let citizens see the truth, all of it. Expand monitoring, fix faulty stations, open source the data, trust the people with numbers, not narratives. And finally, funding. Pollution control isn't cheap, but the cost of inaction is higher in hospital bills, lost productivity, and shortened lives. China poured money without hesitation. India must spend smarter, not just on experiments like cloud seeding, but on structural transformation. Because, as the Ministry of Earth Sciences said, cloud seeding is an experiment, not a solution. You can't wash away a crisis that's systemic. You must dismantle it. The lesson is simple. Beijing fought back with policy, with power, with purpose. Delhi still hesitates. But every breath lost is a reminder that time is running out, and so is air. So Delhi must finally ask itself, will it keep gasping or will it finally start breathing?